Mike at night. Hey, if you at nighttime?
You're here at the right time, except for maybe right now.
Maybe right now. You might be here at the wrong time, but we shoot you out, make sure that you get some of our alerts. But we want to welcome you to one of the, if not the best podcasts we have in our community right now. As you can see, we keep these shirts on.
LSP.
Hey, if you can see it on your chest, you might feel it in your heart. We all about that love,
support,
and protect.
All day.
We got an old friend back today, you guys. You guys recognize the other mic here? There we go.
There we go.
Hey, man. You know what? I want to thank you guys again, like I always do, and appreciate you all for joining us and supporting us like you always do. We had some issues this week, of course. There was a funeral this week that I had to attend and wasn't able to make the show on Wednesday. Again, thank you. And my prayers, thoughts and prayers are with the Price family again and what they are enduring. But we continue to live on, and we continue to try and grow and improve our community and help each other out, because you know that love, support, and protect goes a long way when it comes to acknowledging each other and holding each other up when we need each other the most. So I'm glad my brother is here today. He has some special stuff to share with us. Of course, I'm going to get in there and talk a little bit as well. You guys don't forget to tag and share the video. I always ask you to do that, and I always know that you guys do that. So we appreciate the ones who share the videos. Black Conscious Colorado, hey, we appreciate you for sharing our information here on your web page and on your Facebook site. We're also going to be transitioning as well. Not only are we going to be, we have been on Instagram, but we haven't done many Instagram lives, so we're going to start doing some of our live feeds through Mike at Night's Instagram page. So we'll be doing that as well. But without any further ado, we're going to get into it. I'm going to give my man some time here to get his stuff together, and then we're going to jump in there. Is there anything you want to throw out there, brother?
Yeah, I just want to throw out, before I came here to do the show with Terry, I was just at a award ceremony. And the award ceremony is for the youth. It's called the YASPA Group, Young African Americans for Social and Political Activism. Denise, Miss Mackey, Dr. Mackey is what I'm going to call her. She's going to be come on our show. This is a nonprofit organization that she started. I was really amazed because they're teaching the kids to love themselves as young black and brown youth. They talk to the kids about environmental racism, social racism, the different levels of racism that you don't even see. How you can, how corporations can commit racism against the black community. All those certain things. One thing that they shouted out, and I didn't even recognize it, is, for instance, the RTD system. If everybody knows, if you go down to the points, right next to the sidewalk is where the railways are. There's nothing blocking it or anything like that.
Okay.
So anybody could trip and fall, and then they'll be right on the track when the train is coming off. And the 5 Points, that's the only neighborhood throughout the rest of the city of Denver. It really isn't set up like that, where you have a lot of traffic of people walking and going back and forth, except for in the 5 Points. So that's a form of what they call environmental racism, and make you very aware of that. So,
okay.
So
well, I don't want you to give away too many of the nuggets that you got coming for us today, but we appreciate you, Todd, Jock, appreciate you guys for joining us today. But we are going to get into my band's pairs concept that he developed, and how we are going to go about protecting our young people out here in not only Denver, Colorado, but across the nation. Again, I have to remind you guys that you have joined one of the greatest, the best, and the most transparent and open podcasts that we have right here in the city. And you have none other than myself, Mr. White, here today to drop a few nuggets on you and hope that you guys can eat off of what we have to offer today. Mr. Johnson's just going to go ahead and break it in there for us. He says there's racism in grocery stores with the food. That's absolutely true.
Absolutely.
You know? And they call those some deserts or something? What they call those? Nutrition deserts or something like that. You guys, I know my group out there can help me out with those terms there, but you know what they're saying is there in the inner city there is not access to a lot of healthy or nutritious foods.
Organics.
Exactly.
Things of that nature.
Yeah, stuff like that. So you go ahead and take off on what it is that you wanted
So
to get
I
into.
want to talk about
just starting out.
pears, the pears concept, like the fruit, PEARSS.
Mm-hmm.
And my pears concept is it goes to how we protect our youth. And the first P, of course, is protection.
Okay.
Then it's education, awareness, responsibility, teaching our kids to stand, and then showing them the right way.
Okay.
And I think if we follow this pears concept, then we as parents and as older individuals in the black community, you know, you don't have to be a parent. You can be an uncle, aunt, big brother. But I feel like if we follow this concept, then we will go back protecting our kids. Because bottom line is they need it now. They're growing up in a totally different world than we were when we were at our age.
And for that reason, I believe that we should, you know, as knowledge increases, so should our social responsibility. And when it comes to our kids, we shouldn't set them up to make some of the same mistakes that we made growing up. Mm-hmm. We should be putting them in a better stage, giving them a bigger and better stage to perform on. Mm-hmm. And leaving them a legacy that they can grow from, and not staying debilitated, traveling backwards, and repeating the same ignorant things and doing the same ignorant things that we did as children.
Absolutely. And that comes with the E in pears, education. You can educate your kids many ways. One of the first ways that you can educate your kids is just telling them about the stupid, dumb things that you did and
mm-hmm.
the consequences that you face doing those stupid, dumb things in your youth.
Well, you know, and look at how Todd says here. He says, you know, back in the day, the whole block took care of the kids, and that is true.
The whole
neighborhood. But in this day and age that we live right now, sometimes, even though that may be true, it's very difficult. We are pressed a lot of times to take care of our own home first, and it's very difficult to extend that to others in the neighborhood. And you know, with some of the ignorant people that we have out now, it might not always be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And another form of education is teaching the kids the consequences for the laws that they may break, the consequences for what they're doing wrong.
And that's a big one.
Sometimes they don't know that what they're doing can put them in jail. Let them know what that's going to cost them. Because you got to count the cost when you're out there doing things that you're not supposed to. That's
the first thing you should actually do, is make sure that whatever you're doing is going to be worth your time and a trip to jail if it comes down to that. It might cost you a trip to jail. Mm-hmm. And you know, a hard head, they say, make a soft behind, right?
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm. And that education ties into the awareness. Mm-hmm. Being aware of your surroundings, aware of the situation. Some people call it reading the room. Mm-hmm. You have to know what's going on around you. You have to be self-aware of who you are and yourself and what's going on in that instance.
Mm-hmm. You do have to be self-aware. I want to go back to what you were talking about, though, with the protection piece. Mm-hmm. Could you talk just a little bit more about that and what you mean as far as protection? Is it just protect them in the way of educating them, or that's a whole other piece of it?
It's all protection. To me, protection is you bringing your child up the right way.
Okay.
Protection is being that model. That's why the whole pears. I was going to get to that on the show, but bringing that whole model to your kids, because you are the example. If you guys ever seen a little kid, a baby, they mimic everything that you do. Mm-hmm. Your kids mimic and do everything that you do. Mm-hmm. So if daddy's at home and daddy's drinking alcohol, slapping on mama, 9 times out of 10, that kid's going to grow up thinking that's all right to do. So but protecting is you doing the right thing. Okay. As a parent. There's many forms of protection. It's just not getting out there and boxing somebody that's messing with your child. That's a physical protection. But there's mental that you have to go with. There's spiritual. There's everything. You have to, when you're raising your child, you're protecting them by getting them ready for the adversities that they're going to face in this world.
And where that starts at, and I believe you're absolutely right, but I want to piggyback on that a little bit and say, where that starts at is with that communication and the open dialogue that you have with your children. There has to be expectations, and with those expectations, there also needs to be consequences when those expectations are not met. Healthy Kids Colorado did a comprehensive study on teenage interaction when it comes to parental interaction with teenagers and young adults, and found that is the number one thing. Open dialogue is the number one thing that'll keep most youth away from substance abuse and violence. And when you talk about, the drinking of the alcohol and the hitting on the woman and vice versa and all of that, it boils really down to what we're really trying to protect them from. And that was my question, I guess a little bit rhetorical in nature, but nevertheless, it's keeping them away from substance abuse and violence, because those are the two main things that we have to encounter and have to deal with in the community that we're in right now.
And really protecting them, and it's sad to say, but you have to protect them and get them ready for when they may have to face and deal with a police officer. But what I want to do is, your kids, if you raise them up the right way, they're going to have minimal experiences with the police.
Well, that's true, but you should be ready.
They should be ready. You have to raise them to be ready, but if you bring them up the right way, there's going to be minimal experiences.
Right.
I didn't deal with the cops a lot until I got out there and I graduated high school and I started doing knucklehead things. And when you're doing the knucklehead things, you're breaking the law. That's going to send the cops' presence. It's just that's what the cops and robbers, it's been like that forever. You're out doing wrong, you're going to come into the cops' presence more and more often.
And it's that energy, because you're attracting that type of energy. Also, when it comes to the violence that we see in the streets, it's people who promote or practice violence that are the ones that are generally more susceptible to it.
Yes.
Because that's the energy that they're feeding into. And so that energy will find them in those areas, in those places that are extremely toxic, and that feed that energy that they feed into the universe.
You reap what you sow, and everybody knows that.
Pretty much.
Karma comes around, and that's what it is.
So outside of that, if we could go to the education piece, outside of that protection piece, I would like to say that, and Jock, you are right. Parents do get mad when you set their kids straight. You might be in a hole trying to avert one calamity. You're going to find yourself in a whole different situation just by telling someone's child, hey, look, this is the way to talk to a woman, or, you might want to respect your elder. Don't be speaking, don't be cursing when the elders are around or whatever. But it does come by us setting that standard. And like I said, with the open dialogue comes expectations and consequences. And we have to be willing as parents and even as respected older family members that when we set those expectations for our youth and we set those consequences, that we follow through on both. We can't relax our expectations. We can't be the uncles that want to give our nephews smoke weed with them, or give them some of the 40 just because we want to be cool with them, or we want them to think that we the cool uncle or auntie. Because now when that stuff spins out of control, you've contributed now to the demise and the hurt and the degradation of your own community, and you're killing us from the inside out.
Your own blood. And it's the same with parents doing the same thing. There's many parents out there. There's certain people that just shouldn't be parents, but they got kids anyway.
Well, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Go ahead.
And then with the expectation piece, and I think that's the next thing you were going to talk about, was the expectation. Just taking accountability means a lot to me. And taking accountability in the school, in school, on your job, and socially. A lot of times we're not taking responsibility for the things that we do in our own personal actions. We're not holding ourselves accountable in these situations. And so, therefore, sometimes we tend to do the same things with our children. when they fail to be, when we fail to hold them accountable, we excuse a lot of their negative behavior. And because you are talking about the education piece, I just want to address the situation in schools. You know, when a teacher calls and says that your student has done X, Y, Z, or hasn't performed to the standards or the expectation that the school has, parents, let's not go in on the teacher right away. Okay, I've seen parents go in on school teachers. I've been on both sides of the coin. I've seen parents go in on school teachers like, oh, well, this teacher just doesn't like me, or this or that. Well, you know what? You're going to always have to work with or deal with people that don't like you.
But the thing to me is, you know your kid. You know if your kid's a knucklehead in school messing up. And then to me is, why is a teacher reaching out to you? When my son's in school, you got emails nowadays. I'm in constant communication with my son. I at least email his teachers at least once every 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
And I'm asking him what's going on with my son. How's he doing in classes? How's his behavior? And they love that. And they love that, and they communicate with me.
Okay.
To where my son had a spell, he was being a knucklehead and kind of being a class clown in school. His teacher reached out to me. His teacher didn't suspend him, didn't write him up, send him down to the principal's office. He called me to resolve the issue because I'm the parent in the home. So he trusted that since I'm an involved parent, that since I'm involved, he can reach out to me and get the situation straightened out.
Okay, and that's good, and there should be that open dialogue, but even more so, and what I feel is important along with that dialogue is the accountability, and that you are holding these students, these young adults, responsible for the actions that they take while in school. Hopefully this isn't the case and you have a good student. You don't have to worry about that. However, if you have one who is teetering the line, you want to work along with the educators to help minimize whatever problem and continue your young adults.
Because kids are thinking that the parents don't know what they're doing in school.
You do the same stuff at home.
Yeah,
brother.
so if the teacher's not communicating with the parents and they're not communicating with, then the kid's getting away with it. But when both people are communicating with it, there's nothing to hide.
And 9 times out of you're right. 9 times out of 10, though, as parents, we already know what children are capable of doing because we have them at home.
Yeah, we deal with the knucklehead stuff at home all day long.
The teacher ain't telling us nothing new. But I'm not really speaking to, because most of the people that join us on the Mike and Mike at Night show, we don't necessarily have those problems. But for those who do, we have a pretty educated and thorough community of watchers here on the Mike and Mike at Night show. I appreciate them, and just because the fact that you tune into a show like this is going to let you know that your social responsibility and awareness is a little higher than everyone else's. Because, OG Flip Flop is probably not going to watch the Mike and Mike at Night show. He might watch a few shows when we talking about how to get these women and all that stuff. He might tune in on that. But when we start talking about social responsibility, OG Flip Flop is probably not going to want this or want to watch this show. Now, if there are any OG Flip Flops out there, I'm not talking to you. I was just using that as an example. So if you see me in the streets, OG Flip Flop, I don't want no smoke, and I'm not throwing you under the bus. Okay, I'm just using that name because it just sounds like a familiar name amongst.
So do you think there's a real OG Flip Flop out there?
I definitely think that there's an OG Flip Flop. Des and T, with me saying that, Desiree and Tibble, appreciate you guys for being there, joining the show and watching today. Thank you for the love, support, and protect the show, the Mike and Mike at Night show. So we're on E, educate. Now we're at the A.
A, awareness. Awareness. Can I get one of the biggest things that people lack nowadays is awareness. Being aware of themselves and what they're doing. People always pointing at what someone else is doing, what someone else is doing to my kids. They're doing this, they're doing that. But you as a parent, you have to have awareness where you're at as a parent and what job you're doing as a parent. And you have to self-evaluate yourself. And if you see somewhere where you're slipping up, you made a mistake, then you got to fix it. And you owe that kid. You have to have the responsibility to get yourself taken care of. And then you have to teach your kid to have self-awareness of what they're doing. To be aware of a situation that they're going into. To be aware, hey, this guy over here. To pick be aware enough to pick the right friends. You're going out with someone and you know he's always getting into trouble. You hang out with him one time, and during that one time he was picking up rocks, throwing it out a window. He was doing things that he wasn't supposed to do. You got to let your kids know that's someone you probably don't want to hang around with.
But you got to be real with your kids too, Mike, because he might be the funnest guy to be around.
Yeah, he may.
You know what I'm saying? But you got to let him know how it's going to end up. Because this guy, he's loads of fun.
Yeah, tons of fun.
Yeah.
Until the cops show up.
Right. He gonna get you in trouble. He gonna tell a joke or two. He's a funny guy too.
Yeah.
He might even be a funny guy, but at the end, it ain't gonna end well for this little knucklehead. And if you spend your time around people like this, young folk, these wannabe tough guys and all of that, hey, it don't end well for these brothers or sisters.
Yeah, my dad used to say, all tough guys are dead or in jail.
Period. And that's a fact. And these are some of the things and some of the sayings that we grew up with that have kind of died now because, like we said before, that hard head make a soft behind. All of those, they've kind of died now. They kind of died out. And now that's kind of why we had a generation that we have now because, we did mess up, but I would say that with our generation, there was a certain level of respect that still existed that is extremely minimal right now.
Yes.
There was a certain level of respect that we had, even though we went, we would go real hard on each other, when it came to mama, when it came to daddy, when it came to uncles and aunties.
Or just a man living down the street on the block. We always put a handle on there. It was always a Mr. and a Mrs. on there. There was always a handle.
Right.
You got people 17 want to call me Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good. And nowadays, you get into it or say something like we were saying before. Nowadays, you can get into it or say something to a youngster. That youngster and his mama might be telling you what it is, or trying to fight you, or calling somebody else. And black people, we got to make sure that we are maintaining a certain level of emotional maturity because we know what our children, we know what these youngsters are capable of. Yeah. Don't buy into this stuff. Hold these young men accountable because I'm going to tell you what's destroying the community is the home. And when the home isn't taken care of the way it's supposed to, we turning these knuckleheads loose on the community and on society. And it's not going to end well for them, and that's why our community is in the situation that it is right now. However, I do believe, and I don't want to just get on that sad side of our community. I do believe that we have young people out here who are extremely respectful. Man, I have a neighbor, young man, plays for the Montbello Warriors. Good young man. Responsible, respectful, is sir this, sir that, excellent student athlete. He lets me know that there is hope in our community when it comes to our young people.
Absolutely.
And I see a lot of other young people when it comes to their community awareness and involvement. My daughter herself is joined the Black Panther Party, the Young Black Panthers here in the Denver, Colorado chapter. So my daughter is a part of that. And being a part of those different types of clubs and different types of organizations helps keep the young people involved in something so because they have that awareness, and we're talking about awareness, because they have that awareness, they find a social responsibility in being aware of their community. Let me get to Jesse's comment real quick, and if you're done with the A, we can get on to the R.
Yeah, go ahead and read that comment. I like that.
Okay, she says, you got older people telling youngsters, don't call me sir, man, like it's a bad thing. I was taught you give a handle out if it's respect. You are absolutely right, Des. I heard a woman say she didn't want to be called grandma. And she a grandma. You a grandma.
But you can put a handle on it like Nana, Big Mama,
or whatever you
want.
But listen, that's what you are.
Yeah.
Why not? Why you don't want them to call you that?
Yeah.
Or don't call me Uncle this or Uncle. No, you're gonna call me Uncle, or you're not. I'm not gonna answer you.
I still talk to my uncles to this day. It's always a level of respect. I'm a grown man. Even if they are older than me, I still say, Miss, I'm 47 years old, and if I see a senior citizen, I'm gonna put a handle on it.
You
I'm
have
just
to.
gonna naturally do it.
Elders are forgetting to teach these
Miss
kids.
Ray, Miss whoever, Elder Ray, I'm gonna put some type of handle on it to give them props for who they are. They've earned it.
Elders are forgetting to teach these kids to respect their elders and community, and we are, and that's kind of how I feel, or why I feel that we've kind of dropped the ball in a certain sense. But at the same time, there are some of us cut from the same cloth, and therefore we take care of that situation from the home.
Yeah.
Let me say that again. There are some elders who have dropped the ball, but some of us who know what it's all about, we take care of that from the home. So we make sure it starts here.
And that leads to the responsibility part of parents. So for those who just joining us, we're talking about pairs. Protection, education, awareness, responsibility, standing firm, and showing them the right way. So we're on the responsibility portion. That responsibility to bring that child up and to make them, educate them, and make them aware, that all follows on you as a parent.
See what I'm saying, y'all? Old school.
Yeah,
See the old school.
Old school jar. We didn't throw that away. Boy, that's a good water jar.
Old school. Old school.
We put
Go
that
ahead,
in
man.
there.
Go ahead.
But you know, we have a responsibility to our kids. We have a responsibility to our community. We have a responsibility to ourselves to educate, to do the right things in our lives, to show our youth, to show them what we're doing. This is being responsible, what we're doing on this Mike and Mike show. Have you guys ever seen us come on this show and wow out and do something stupid or irresponsible?
Or sitting up here, though there might be members of the Mike and Mike at Night show, I can neither confirm or deny, that engage in certain activities that we, because of our responsibility, our awareness to the community, we're not going to promote that in this type of setting.
Yeah.
Now, we have been throwing some ideas around and doing some different things, you know, like a little Mike and Mike at Night after hours where we just hang out and, you know, kind of let our hair down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, you know, I'm just saying, you know, when we get on here, we're not sitting up, and I'm not saying nothing's wrong with it, you guys.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is this, is that because of the things that we talk about on this show, I would find it highly contradicting and irresponsible to get on here and put a message out there. We don't drink, really, we generally just drink water on this show.
Yeah.
So,
you don't see us with no liquor bottles.
No 40 ounces.
Yeah, 40 ounces sitting on here doing the show. You know, afterward, if we want to have a little sip, you know, we're going to win.
Whatever. I can't confirm or deny, but yeah, whatever it is after the show,
we're going to do the responsible thing because that's what we want to come across, and it's the responsibility, and it's the whole black community. If my son is out there doing something, I want another adult to be responsible, stop him from doing that, and then to come tell me. It is okay with doing that. But you get parents out there that don't want nobody saying nothing to their kids, and you know how your kid is. And so I was working the other day, and I didn't have to do it, but there was like four 4-year-olds at the end of the cul-de-sac, and they was all the way at the end of the block, and cars were driving down. And I looked around, and the parents were up in the yard, but a truck was blocking them, so they didn't see where the kids was. I told the kids, get y'all little butts off of the edge of the street and get back here on the block and go back down here. And one of those parents came and said they heard me and I was loud enough and they told me thank you. Because those little kids, if they had ventured out, one of them could have got hit by that car.
And then one of them will go tell their mom that there's some strange men out there said I had a little butt. And then it'll turn the whole, you know what I'm saying? And come in, what you said about my kids'
But
butt?
I said it loud enough when they heard what I said.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's a real sticky situation when you're dealing with, and you try to deal with the community, especially the black community as a whole, because a lot of us have missed the boat on that whole respect factor and holding each other accountable. And I think that's also a big situation, a big deal as well. Being responsible and holding each other accountable. When I see my brother slipping, or I see my brother doing something that You know, he doesn't necessarily. I mean, you've even come to me
Yeah.
like, hey, bro, we probably shouldn't roll like this. You know what I'm saying? Or you probably shouldn't do this or that. And we've had that healthy exchange.
Yeah.
We was up at what was it? 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Arguing scripture.
Yeah, scripture.
Going
debating.
back and forth, debating. But you
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we have that healthy dialogue to where I know that my brother doesn't mean me any harm.
Yeah.
So when he's talking to me or telling me something, I know that he's telling me that out of love. He ain't trying to, for lack of a better term, punk me, humiliate me, or belittle me.
Mhm.
And he's not trying to violate me or any of my morals. He's
Yeah.
telling me something because he sees a way in which the information that he's giving me could actually help me. You want to tackle Vanessa's comment?
Yeah, nobody can say nothing to nobody else's kids without parents tripping these days. It truly takes a village. And we have to get back to that village mentality, you guys. We really do. We have to get back to that village mentality. You have to guard your kids against other adults because there's perverts, pedophiles, and all those other things out there. But it really takes a village to raise a child.
Now, let me say this real quick because Todd said something and I didn't see that right away, but I'm gonna get to what he's saying. He said, so how do you talk to those parents that we're talking about? Those ignorant parents. You know, I was told one time that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, when you have parents that you know have children that are a problem, maybe it's not good to address that situation first.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we have socially responsible and mature parents that can handle that, like the brother or sister you was talking about that came back and said, hey, I heard you check my kid, appreciate that. When we have people that can handle that, that's different. Now, when we don't have people if we don't have people in the neighborhood that can respect that, hey, Jim, appreciate you for joining the show today. What you do is you show them how much you care. So maybe I don't even address the kid's situation. Maybe I go straight to the parents. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, how you doing today? Hey, check this out. Or do little things for them. And I'm not trying to say you got to punk down or bow down to anybody, but there are certain things you can do, especially in the community or in a neighborhood, for your neighbors to let them know that you kind of have their best interest in mind. You know, if there's anything that you can extend to them. Hey, man, I got, some extra oranges or something. Can you use a few of these? Or, hey, had an extra case of water or something fall off the truck. Hey, do you want this? Looking out for them. You know what I'm saying?
Or in this case, I used to date a teacher, and one of the kids, he had a great heart, but he was a problem kid in school, and his parents knew that. So, I called up his mom, and I was like, well, can he come hang out with me? I want to take him to church with me. And I want to take him to church with me, and we're going to hang out. So he went out to church, and at the church, I was like, hey, I want to take your son. Hey, you mind if I take him over to Boondocks? It's on me. I got the money on it. Here's all my information. Here's where we're going to be. This is the time that we're going to be back. Sometimes you got to show them that you care about their kids and that you're reaching out to them. Nowadays, you have to set up boundaries and parameters because, with all the craziness that goes on, people have a hard time trusting people with their kids. So you got to kind of show that's the person you are. But if 9 times out of 10, they're having trouble with that kid and they don't know what to do with them. Mm-hmm. So if somebody's reaching out and saying, hey, let me help him out, and I'm going to help him and I'm going to talk to him about some of those things. And then have a discussion with the parent, what you spoke with them about when you come back home, and have that discussion in front of the child so everything's transparent. And that's a way to get to those folks who don't want you talking to their kids, because they're going to automatically try to protect their kids automatically. But if you're coming from a place of love, support, and protect, then they'll open up their doors.
Exactly. And I do, of course, I agree with that. When we're talking about protecting our youth, I just want to get back to, did you get that last acronym out? Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah,
I
got responsibility. We have responsibility.
Okay. The substance abuse and the violence issue, I think the two go hand in hand. It's something that our community has had to deal with, not only the black community, but as Jim joins us today, the brown community has to deal with, has had to deal with for a very long time. Sorry to use that term. I would say Latino, Latina, or whatever. But we have all had to use we have all had to deal with the issue of, as minorities, of substance abuse and violence. And the problem with that is that these are a lot of the things that our youth are seeing transpire in the home. Drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and being violent. And I want to just say this because I understand, spare the rod, spoil the child. There are certain things that you can't allow your child to get away with without some form of punishment, maybe even corporal punishment at times. But let's try to figure out ways to address the issues, to set or set certain type of consequences that doesn't have to do or doesn't have to deal with physical violence. Because
first you got to talk to find out why the child is doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to communicate
Mm-hmm.
and get something through. Because a lot of times kids act out and they're immature. So they don't know how to handle a situation a mature way that an adult does.
Mm-hmm.
So you as a mature adult, you have to come through and handle that and mature. You can't have low emotional quotient
Mm-hmm.
dealing with your child and think you're going to get anywhere by showing the low emotional quotient to your child. All you're teaching them is that it's okay to deal with things with that low emotional quotient.
Right. Boy, I'm about to hit you with this shoe.
Yeah.
Well, when you say that, now you're going to turn man into OG flip-flop. You know what I'm saying? Because now he's figuring that this is now how I deal with situations. When people don't do or act in the way that I want to, I hit them with a shoe.
Or I yell at them.
Right.
Or I tell them you're stupid and I call them names, all those.
Or cuss them out.
But
Or
what
pull out
if
a
you
pistol.
tell them, you deal with them and you show them, hey, you sit down and saying, okay, why did you do that? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And then when they tell you, you don't yell at them or call them names. You saying, okay, well, let's think of another way that
Mm-hmm.
you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about some other ways that you could have handled that situation. Now you're teaching them conflict resolution and how to do things differently, and they will remember that growing up.
Mm-hmm. And conflict resolution is a big one. Sometimes a communication without someone feeling like they're being attacked
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit more beneficial than when you're talking to someone and not making them feel as though you're coming down on them. Now, I can instruct you without attacking you. I can speak to you in a way that preserves your dignity and promotes your advancement and your awareness and your level of intelligence. But when I cuss at you, which is something that I hate to see,
Mm-hmm.
Adults cuss and demean children, all that's going to do is make me question who I am as a young man or a young woman, and it can cause me to reject not only the message but even myself and start to disrespect myself. Now, if my mom and my mom or the person who is responsible for rearing or raising me doesn't respect me and doesn't show me love, then how am I supposed to develop a certain level of love for myself?
How am I supposed to go to school and respect that teacher? Because I'm not being shown that respect at home. So I'm just acting out on what I see and on what I'm getting from home. That's what I'm acting out on in public.
Mr. Katana says, he said a great message. The biggest thing I was taught growing up was if you can sign your name to it with pride, if you can't sign, I think what he means, if you can't sign your name to it with pride, then don't sign it at all. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. You were going to get to the...
Yeah. So the next one, stand firm. That's standing firm on your moral compass, standing firm on who you are as a parent, standing firm on the rules that you've placed in your home. Those are huge for a child because when you stand firm, they learn to stand firm in their life and they're not easily manipulated by others. Stand firm on what's going on. So your kid, when their friend is doing that knucklehead thing, they be like, nah, man, you got that by yourself. I'm out of here.
Right.
And then they can stand firm on that, even if that friend calls them names, whatever they say. Okay, that's your opinion, but I know what the consequences are behind this.
Right.
So you got to teach them to stand, but you got to do that as a parent, Because if you're not standing firm on your home and you tell them to do something and then you let them get away with it and they get away with it and get away with it, but then so they're not going to respect that. So they're going to do the same with the other people in their life.
That's kind of what I was saying in the beginning when we were talking about the open dialogue,
Yeah.
in which I said, you set those expectations, and those failure to meet those expectations have consequences, and you need to follow through on those consequences. When you don't follow through on those consequences, then your credibility is shook with the youngster, and it's hard to build that credibility with them again because they don't believe what you say is actually going to take place, or that you're thorough in your follow through on what you're going to do with them. So, you have to be really careful to make sure that when you do set those expectations and you let them know that there are consequences to failing to meet those expectations, then.
But you do it out of love.
Mhm.
You still tell them, no, you can't go to that party tonight. Why can't you go to that party? Please explain to me why.
Mhm.
Let them show they acknowledge they know why you can't go to their party.
Mhm.
Give them a hug and say, I'm sorry that you're going to miss out on this fun. But it is what it is. But this is a lesson that you learned.
Mhm.
So what did you learn from that? That's a learning situation. It's handled with love. You take care of it. That kid learns from it and grows from it. Next, Go ahead.
Now, I know that some of my people, because I was just impressed with this real quick, I know some of my people out there are going to say, man, that dude T, man, he kind of tripping because, he talking about this OG flip-flop and this and that, and trying to make it seem like, but you guys, let's be honest with each other right now. And I know some of my guys out there who are gang members, they're gonna have some pushback on me. But let's be honest, bro. It was ignorant. It was ignorant and didn't get us anywhere.
Yeah.
It didn't help us out.
Yeah.
All it did for us in our development as men was rewound the clock backwards.
Enroll you in the system. You got enrolled into the system.
Right.
Your name is out there. They know you now.
Now, did we learn something? Did some of my brothers and sisters learn something from taking that walk? Most definitely.
But did you have to take that walk to learn something?
You didn't. And my brothers, man, I love you guys dearly. And you guys know, I'm not just making this up. I'm being sincere. And I'm talking to my friends, family members who are still actively gang members. Man, I love you guys. And you guys know that I do. And I don't shun you guys or make you feel less of a human being or a man when I'm around you. But man, it's time to quit that, man.
Mm-hmm.
We too old for this now.
Yeah.
We got a generation of people coming up right now that we need to be loving on, supporting, and protecting. And we can't do that if we're not going to be around for them to lean on us. We want to spoil grandkids, you guys. We're trying to continue life. We're not trying to end life. So I'm just saying that to say, man, listen.
We're not trying to be slaves. Because you're a slave to the system. If you're still doing things like that, you're a slave. Because the system's going to keep you going in and out of it. It's a revolving door, and they keep you, like people say, I ain't never going back, and here you go right back again. You have become a slave to the system. And it's a never-ending story unless you decide to cut it off. Let the slavery go. Free yourself.
Todd says, but what it really is about is what they're learning in the street, what they're learning outside of the home, and will they be willing to talk to you about it? That's a good point. But when you keep that dialogue open, and like I told you, the Healthy Kids Colorado survey, they looked in and just said, just initiating that dialogue, they said if you even can just have a meal with your kid, not talking, just being around them gives them a sense of personal awareness and responsibility. Asking kid, hey, what did you do today? Asking open-ended questions. Sometimes, I was reading a book and they said there was some research done, and I try not to give you guys all the game for free, but check this out. There was some research done on questions. When we listen to questions, our brains are wired to answer them, which is why salespeople and motivational speakers and different people in different points, they ask questions and they ask open-ended questions. What'd you do, or how was your day? Things like that. Something that you can't just answer yes or no to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something that you have to give a response to. Vanessa Adams, disrespect.
And then with that, man, I mean, the streets can say whatever. Your kids, you can't keep them out from everything. They're going to see different things. But it's the example that you're setting in the home. That's where it starts first. Because you're the one protecting them. You're the one that they have faith in. They have faith that you're going to feed them, that you're going to clothe them, that you're going to be there for them. And that faith, you cannot destroy that faith in them. As long as you keep that faith in them in the home, in you, then no one outside, because those people on the outside, they don't have faith in them because they can't see it. They know what's tangible with what you've done with them.
Right. Disrespectfully, Vanessa Adams, disrespectful youth cannot be expected to respect their own parents. If there were expectations, there is no way they'd be disrespectful to other adults they don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Go ahead and hit that. Tackle that one.
Wow, disrespectful youth cannot be expected to respect their parents. I mean, if your parent lets you grow up and disrespect them, your kid, 9 times out of your kid ain't gonna respect nobody. Or there's a difference. That kid's gonna walk in and see somebody's aura, somebody that doesn't let them disrespect them, and that shows them that love, and they're gonna involve with it. Could be the wrong person though. It could be that gang person that's showing them that love and showing them the streets way and saying we love you, invite you in. That's how many people end up in that environment because they didn't get the love at home like they were supposed to. But again, that's just you as a parent stepping up and demanding your respect. But sometimes even demanding the respect, you got to earn that respect of someone. You got to earn the respect of your child. You got to show those child. You can't be a mom that has a dude coming into the house every other night and then expect your son to respect you. He may respect you because he don't know, but once he gets to the age that he starts to know what you truly are, then he's not going to respect you.
That age that you get to when you realize Superman can't really fly.
Yeah.
You know, when you was a kid, you know, your uncle's antics were funny. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? And they were cute, but when you became an adult, you figured out he was an annoying drunk. You see what I'm saying? Some of that stuff as a kid, kids don't understand, but they're going to figure you out later on. Mm-hmm. And we had uncles and aunts alike that did some of that. When we were kids, we didn't really know that, you know, they might have been full of crap. And now we get older and we look at them.
Think about it. How many got that uncle that act the same way they did when you was a kid as an adult? Do you really have respect for that uncle?
I mean,
we still may respect him, but we won't disrespect him. But do you see your uncle in that same light?
Right.
You know, because I still respect all my uncles, but I don't see my uncle in the same light. I see my uncle for who he truly is, and what that's doing wrong, I see him for what they truly is. Right. And that leads to the last part of our parents is show them. The best way to do anything is to show your kid. Show them through your actions.
Model what you want to see. Right.
Show them how you are in this situation. Mm-hmm. You can't tell your kid, you can't get mad at the world and cuss at the world, want to fight everybody. Then you in the grocery store, you driving down the road and you have road rage and you get mad and you want to fight a stranger during the traffic altercation over something because you didn't turn your turn signal. You have to show them what you expect from them.
But now the school didn't call you because your son done busted somebody in the head.
Yeah, and now you're mad to where did you get that from? They get it from you.
Right.
So you got to show them the right way.
Awesome. Matter of fact, you know, the modeling is the best way because they say that imitation is the greatest form of flattery. And you know what? When you model for your children, you know that they get the message when they start doing the exact same thing that you're doing. And when you can have a certain level of emotional control, you can see that you can feed that to your children. And I don't think it's ever too late. You understand what I'm saying? It's never too late to impress upon your children or the children in your community, to impress upon them that they can. It's never too late to change.
Absolutely.
Well, hey.
So one more thing. Mm-hmm. I want to get to this because you made a great point earlier. So you guys, there's always, you know, sometimes we get stuck in a community as what it should be versus reality. Mm-hmm. And Terry, you said something that's so profound. Can you repeat that for the audience? Because I love that.
Maturity is accepting things the way they are and not the way you wish they would be.
Absolutely.
We have to deal with things the way that they are. Not saying, well, I want it to be this way, so I'm not going to do nothing because it's not the way that I want it to be.
Yeah.
Deal with it the way it is.
Should be is your son should be able to go to the corner store, pick up some Skittles and some iced tea, and walk home safely and not have his life tragically end, and then not have the person who ended his life and stalked him acquitted of murder and claim self-defense.
That's what should happen.
That's what should happen.
That's what
but
should
the
happen.
reality is we've seen it all over the place.
That's probably not what's going to happen.
So you could be a parent that focus on the should be, and you can have your kids out there thinking this is the way that it should be, or you could be a parent that focuses on the reality and takes the responsibility and puts that pear and take a bite out of that pear and let your kid know that I'm gonna do this the right way with you.
Because this is the way that it is. I shouldn't have to worry about the police killing me, but the chances are I will. So then there's a way that I need to conduct myself. Not conducting myself based on how I wish things were, but conducting myself the way that I know that they are.
I should be able to go commit a crime and get due process. But reality is due process is different from us than a lot of people. So reality is don't commit the crime if you can't do the time.
Period. And I don't know nobody that can do time.
Yeah.
I know people that have to do time, but they don't want to do it.
You don't want to do time. Absolutely.
I don't know nobody in prison that wouldn't love to get out if they were given the opportunity. But anyway, hey man, I appreciate you guys, men and women, brothers and sisters, kings and queens. I appreciate you guys for being here with us today. God bless you. Hey, if there's anything that you need to ask forgiveness for, man, go ahead and do that because life is too short. And if there's anything that you need to apologize for, just go ahead and do that. Knock that out. Get that monkey off your back so you can move forward and you can do it in a way that you don't have to feel scrutinized or less of a person because you're so dogmatic and bullheaded about not apologizing and not saying you're sorry or anything or not forgiving anyone because you got some type of axe to grind. Listen, you guys, like I said, I just attended the funeral. Life is too short. Let that stuff go. It did in the whole scheme of things, it don't mean nothing. Okay. Man's dad came over and ate up all the hot dogs at the birthday party and he didn't pay for none. It's fine.
It's okay.
It's okay.
He got a good meal.
Exactly.
Man, everybody there was gonna be leftover hot dogs anyway.
Right. You guys don't wear this stuff.
Yeah.
Don't wear this stuff. Don't let people live in your head for free.
Yeah.
Forgive, apologize, and move on.
Move on. You don't even gotta have them in your life.
That's right.
Yeah, you don't have to keep everybody in your life. Forgive, apologize, move on, and go your separate ways.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you,
Thanks,
Todd.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys for joining us on another Mike and Knight show. Like I said, you guys are tuned in to what may be the best, if not one of the best podcasts in the city right now.
I think it's the best.
Right on. We growing fast. We're doing a lot of things in the city, and we appreciate you guys for all the support that you have given us. So make sure that you tap back in with us. We're going to be here again tomorrow, I believe. If not, then we will be here Wednesday. But I'm pretty sure, I'm about 98% sure that we're going to be here on the show tomorrow. You guys have a good one.
LSP, y'all. I'm all about that love, support, and time. Cop these shirts. Cop your LSP shirt, y'all.
I'm so stressed, so bored, tired of what stupid dog. I ain't nuclear waste, mystery atomic bomb. Plutonium explodes on my trademark. Must move clouds and psychotic rainfall. Gamma rays taught my system, now I'm going green. G-force in my veins, pump hydrozine. KC-13, a microphone beam. Cosmic juggernaut, extraterrestrial beam. Brain so green, once conceived, boy, they broke the mold.